Hello and welcome to another episode of One Fall WrestleCast Live. Man, it's good to see you. Tom and I are here. We're pumped up. Steelers got a W. Plenty to be happy about in the Berg, including Osprey versus Ricochet. Can't wait to get Tom's take on this and where we're going to go with that. We've got continuation of the Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns teaming up storyline. Interested to see if it's aged any better for us a week removed. And have the Lucha Bros signed a contract with WWE? Tom and I are going to dive deep on a bunch of stuff. Really looking forward to it.
Welcome to the One Fall WrestleCast.
That's how many falls. Just one. One fall. Not a three fall. Not an Iron Man match.
One fall. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Buying crap on the internet, you know.
Yeah. Generally things that we don't need, but we think we need, and then we buy it. And
there's a lot of stuff on sale that I'm like, I've always kind of wanted that. I'm gonna get it.
I mean, you're sounding very much like Tony Khan when it comes to free agent talent right now.
That was a good segue.
Yeah. Wow. So, since I brought it up, let's talk about free agents. There is a lot of upcoming free agency that's going to be going on here, outside of the Lucha Bros, and we will get to them later on. And what that could potentially mean for the balance of power, so to speak, between AEW and WWE, if you perceive there to be
balance is not the right. It's more. Never mind. We'll get there. Balance.
But quite a few names of interest have come up this week, and Kevin Owens is one of those names. And I would like to say that a lot of us think that he won't hit free agency, but if he does, I imagine that there's going to be a pretty substantial offer from Tony.
Yeah, Kevin particularly, I feel like he's the. Do I think Kevin's going anywhere practically? No, I don't imagine we'll see Kevin Owens going anywhere. However, of the top guys who would certainly be getting offers and would have friends over there, he would probably be number one on the list. That being said, now if this was 3 years ago, or pandemic wise, when pre Vince McMahon going away, I think that Kevin may have had some semblance of he would at least think about it, right? It would.
You think so? Because I feel like he was always put in pretty good spots with Vince McMahon.
He was, but at the same time, like, I feel like he maybe had more incentive, and I think that maybe at that point in time, the pastures may have looked and may have indeed been greener over at AEW at that point in time. And the potential of a top guy slot where he was sort of always going to be the almost top guy, and just sort of floating around the main event picture may have been something that he would have entertained, at least for a 3-year deal or something to that effect. Especially probably with the amount of money that he would have been offered at that point in time. Although it was around then that he did sign the 5-year deal was that he's now coming up on now. So, I think, like I said, maybe 3 or so years ago, right after he had signed the deal, right sort of after AEW started to pick up and become something, was kind of cool, was pretty cool at the time, was an interesting piece of business, at least as far as a new upstart company is concerned. I feel like at that point, he may have been able to consider it. But now I don't think it sure seems like a graveyard over there, and I don't know that signing a long-term deal with AEW would even lead to being on television long term. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's worked out for Mercedes Moné so far.
I mean, if she's happy, great, but I mean, it's only been what 4 or 5. It's only been 6 months.
Well, I mean, and she's only had to work once. I mean, twice maybe.
Yeah,
I think she's probably laughing all the way to the bank.
I mean, she certainly is. I don't know. I feel like does it really seem like I know we made fun of Tony at this point in time, like we was signing everybody like fucking money mark. Everybody just sees him like that. Man, with his part time as everybody seems to be right now, God, he sure seems like it. That seems like it's come to fruition. I mean, from everybody, not just. I mean, hell, MJF is clearly now very part time. As if he wasn't before, he is now like. He's like, all right, I'll be there for 3 weeks, and then he fucks off for 5 months. Moxley comes and goes. John Moxley is a once every other week kind of guy. Bryan Danielson's I don't think ever been more than like a once or twice a month kind of guy. All the top guys. Miro just asked for his release. I guess it was granted.
Was it interesting?
That allegedly, I've not heard anything official, but
I've not heard anything official either. But I did want to bring that up, so we'll circle back.
Yeah, we could circle back to that. I'm just trying to think. Adam Cole has worked 4 matches in 2.5 years.
Yeah, and he's gotten.
He's gotten
broken in both of them.
Yeah, well, no, the one was just sort of a fluke. It wasn't even a match. He jumped off a thing. God, it seems like Samoa Joe's living his best life. He got to have a pretty decent title run, and every time he's been on TV, it's been cool. And then he goes off and films a cool thing, and he's filming Twisted Metal right now.
Yeah, isn't he in a video game coming up too?
Well, he's in the adaptation of the PS2 game Twisted Metal.
But I just saw him in a video game graphic not that long ago.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what that was either. But yeah, he is. But yeah, no, Samoa Joe's he just goes off and does his own thing, and he comes back and has a fun. He's living his best life. I would say if anybody who has been the come over from WWE and done the best consistently, it's probably besides Moxley, Jericho, those guys who were sort of the guys who came in the beginning. It's really Samoa Joe is the only one that's come in later and done well.
Yeah. Christian's done okay for himself.
Yeah, but he wasn't really a WWE guy at the time.
But he was also the biggest signing in the history of AEW as far as Tony Khan would have led us to believe.
It was a huge announcement. And the fans went, and then we had to talk about how not fair it was to Christian. So I didn't actually watch Dynamite this week, but in a turn of events, I did end up watching Collision. I always forget how much better the commentary on Collision is because Excalibur is not there. And I know that initially we were like, oh, they don't want to know what's coming up so that they can react to it in real time. I feel like Excalibur needs to be given some sort of some sort of run through because my man, not only can he not predict what's coming, he has no idea. He watches every match as though he's never watched a wrestling match before, although we know that's not true because he watches wrestling matches every week live on television, but still he seems to have no idea what's actually going on other than the exact name of the move that's being done. Otherwise, he has no fucking clue. And and he's only gotten worse. He has not gotten any better.
Excalibur has become your Joey Janela. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Wow. How many episodes did we go without mentioning Joey Janela?
It's probably not really been that long because anytime you get on somebody about something, I always bring up Joey Janela.
Poor Joey. Is Joey Janela even alive anymore?
I don't know.
I feel like I follow him on Twitter and I've not seen him post or anything.
I don't have an answer to that, good sir. But let's get back.
A homeless man fixed his car.
Yeah, cigarette smoking angel.
Yeah.
So let's get the bus back on track here, and let's continue our conversation about Kevin Owens. I don't see a world where Kevin Owens leaves WWE.
Not at this point, no.
I know I threw a little bit of shade at Kevin Owens last week, saying that there's only so many matches that Kevin Owens can be inserted into. But that's really wasn't shade at him. I guess it was more or less at WWE and the regime, not having anybody ready for the main event title picture. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, please feel free to click on last week's episode. We discussed it at length. But I think that Kevin Owens is a fucking top guy, and like he's over in WWE.
And I feel like despite not being the top guy, like he's been on the top for as long as or longer. I mean, longer than Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Like he's really been the guy who's
he is the break glass in case of emergency guy.
Exactly. And
you can put him in anything, anywhere on the card with anyone, and it instantly feels more important.
And it makes sense. I don't know how he does, how it makes it. Kevin Owens I guess he's been around long enough, and he's been a dick or nice to, or both, to enough people on the roster, at least enough top guys on the roster, that it doesn't matter because he's got a history with every human on the roster. So at any point in time, they could just be like, here's Kevin Owens. He ran into this person back in 2019 when he pooped on the front of their car or whatever. And it's like every time, it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. There's a little callback. There's some call forwards. Kevin has a great promo that kind of explains it, ties it all together. He has a way of starting somewhere and then tying everything together in a like little 3-minute promo that I don't know if it's him or whomever he writes with, or if he's got enough guys in the back with him who just help him, right? Because it just always seems like Kevin Owens comes out and he speaks in such a way that it's like, here's this, here's why, and here's where we're going. And it's like, doot. It's, hello, my name is Ingo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And we know every time. We know exactly.
He's like the modern day Savio Vega.
Yeah.
Like you could plug Savio into anything back in the day.
Except Savio Vega was never a top guy. He was like plug in. It was like they started it with Savio Vega, and then they did it with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
To a little bit of a higher level. Same with like The Miz, I guess, is sort of a similar kind of, but to a little bit of a higher level. And then Kevin Owens is now like the pinnacle of that guy. Like he stands on the shoulders of the giants that come before him.
Absolutely. But I don't see Kevin Owens hitting free agency. I imagine that him and Nick Khan will get a deal done, and they'll be off to the races, and it'll be business as usual. And who knows? Maybe we'll get that long-awaited Kevin Owens World Championship title reign, a proper one.
I do think we'll probably get, once this whole WrestleMania season shakes out, I would bet by this time next year, we either are seeing or have seen a Kevin Owens World Heavyweight Championship run. I don't think that he'll be on the WWE Undisputed side of things. But I think that certainly once there's a little bit of a shakeup in the rosters and how they work, especially once everything goes to Netflix.
Yep.
I do think that we'll see a Kevin Owens World Heavyweight title run within the next year. That's, and we could clip this and pull it back and say, and we could say, man, I was so wrong. But who knows?
I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to me.
I think that's really the reason the World Heavyweight Championship exists, is to give guys like that who, they just keep bouncing off of Roman, or now they're just going to have to keep bouncing off Roman and Cody like they did bounce off them, Roman and Brock. I think that we're going to see that.
I don't know. They got a lot of work to do in that upper part of the card, though. As we discussed last week,
particularly on Fridays.
Yes, particularly on Fridays. So, another interesting name that's been hitting the old circulation of free agency is Dustin Rhodes.
I mean, I know that in theory his contract is up soon, but he has been featured pretty heavily on AEW television right now, and probably what is the most consistently booked storyline at the moment since all the other ones sort of wrapped up. And he seems to be having the ability to live his best life on television and kind of book himself into whatever he wants to do. Whether or not that's been any good, I mean, it hasn't been bad. It's been fine. It's been a not bad part of all the shows. So I can't see him leaving, and I think he said as much when Cody left. He was like, "No, I'm having too much fun. I like it here. You know, I got a big."
Yeah, but a lot's changed since then. Vince McMahon's gone. You know, and AEW is not hearkened to have been what it once was,
or what it should have been.
Yeah, or what it should have been, and you know, I don't know, man. You know, and I've got to feel like we're on the, you know, we're like hole 17 here with Dustin.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got to imagine that he would like to get his rightful spot in the WWE Hall of Fame. You know, and just kind of be able to do his thing. Now he's got his own wrestling academy in Atlanta, I believe. You know, and he's integral piece of the AEW women's locker room with his knowledge and
just the whole backstage in general. Like he's one of the he's a Patterson or a Briscoe or a Sergeant Slaughter or somebody to that level.
And what's to say that he can't come and be that under the WWE banner, maybe particularly in NXT with Shawn Michaels and Terry Taylor and Matt Bloom, and just really add to that roster.
Norman Smiley is part of that group too.
Yep, Norman Smiley. It's Smiley,
yeah. Norman
Remember
Smiley.
when he went on that kick for a little while towards the tail?
He may have been the most underrated Attitude Era wrestler of all time. May have been the most underrated.
But he was definitely a good time.
Between him and Spike Dudley. Fucking love Spike.
Jiminy Christmas. So, I don't know, man. For me, this is a coin flip. Now, Dustin did just go on the old tweet box and, say something about this place has my soul or, my heart and soul or whatever the fuck.
I mean, Cody said shit like that too, though.
Yeah. And then Cody comes on Instagram Live and it's like, I'm about to take you on a roller coaster ride like you've never fucking seen or felt before. And then poop, he's in WWE again.
Yep.
So that will be an interesting little journey to follow. I really wouldn't be surprised one way or the other, if I'm being honest. Like if he decides to stay
for
in AEW, yeah. If he decides to stay in AEW, yeah, that makes sense.
Although I would love to see him come out as Goldust.
So would friend of the show Pat Martin.
Oh man,
God. That would send friend of the show Pat Martin over the edge. Like you want to talk about full fanboy for whatever reason, man. He loves him some Goldust. And I mean, I can't say that I disagree because, I've been quoted as saying that Dustin is the best worker in the Rhodes family.
Well, but not only that, like when you think back to big Attitude Era moments, yeah, you think Austin Rock and whatever, but how many Goldust moments are in your head? And is it like 5 of them? Is it like way more than it really should be?
Yeah, it's definitely way more than it should be.
Because it is, yeah. So I think that if the opportunity, I was playing a little bit of devil's advocate before, but I'm gonna play to your side a little bit. That I think if the right opportunity is placed at his feet to come out and be a sort of like a foil to some of the lesser members of the Judgment, or not the Judgment Day, but the Bloodline. Say he gets to have a few.
So you're talking about Tonga Loa?
I was gonna say Tama Tonga. Let's give it. But you know what? If anybody can get a good match out of Tongaloa, maybe it's Dustin.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, and you know what? It could be pitched that way. Like you'll get a big return, things will come down, you get the whole gold sparkles and all the thing. You get to come out and help your brother. You get to give somebody a shattered dreams in front of 50,000 people in an arena more packed than you've seen in 25 years. You know, so I can't imagine that there isn't a deal that can be laid at his feet, you know, for, like you said, he's on the 17th hole here, for a 2 or 3 year deal to say, hey, look, we're gonna have, you know, you're gonna come around with us, you're gonna work limited matches, you know, but you're gonna be parts of big segments moving forward, and then once that's up, Hall of Fame. You know, I can't imagine that deal being laid at his feet wouldn't be very intriguing.
Yeah, and like I don't know, man. And it's just his body of work in WWE is just so under fucking rated.
Yeah.
Like just the things that he did, and you know, I mean, he was very much, I'm sure, a lot like Ricky Bobby's dad. Hell, Ricky, I was high.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
You know,
well, I'm
but
sure he said it. I'm sure he said it himself.
You know, but I think that you can't not look at Dustin Rhodes and not say that dude should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I mean, and I would, you know, and what a sort of story it ended. Like it would tie into everything Cody's doing at the moment, you know, because he can only mention my father is Dusty Rhodes so many more times, right? But to have, and maybe they even tag in a pay-per-view, and maybe Cody dons the Stardust makeup one last time, you know, something like that. I feel like, you know, there's so much that could be made interesting, right? Especially during like the slower parts of the year. Yeah, so 50-50, I would be fine with it. If he stays in AEW, I will admit that I've enjoyed his AEW run pretty well. Like I think that he's been the one of the more consistent guys. So we'll see.
Yeah, we certainly will. Hey, real quick question: do you know who Brian Hebner is?
Earl Hebner's younger brother?
No, sir.
No, that's Dave. That's
yes.
Dave. No,
Dave,
I don't
yeah,
know
Brian is either his nephew or his son. I can't remember. But anyways, he's a referee for pro wrestling. Right. So
I'm shocked. Stunned even.
He had a really bad take on Twitter this week, and
oh no,
it's making the circulation here, and I really like to get your opinion on it.
Oh no, okay.
Hebner tweets: the voice of Samantha Irvin is literally making me use my mute button more than I ever have. Her voice is like nails on a chalkboard.
So to each his own, but I'm going to come out and say it. He is the deadest wrong that anybody's ever been dead wrong. His dead wrong is so fucking dead that like it has turned to dust, and that dust has blown into the wind and no longer contains nutrients. That is, man. If Samantha Irvin's not the greatest ring announcer of all time, not just wrestling, like ring, whether it's boxing, UFC, Octagon, whatever, WWE, wrestling in general, she is the greatest ring announcer of all time, in my opinion.
You think she's better than Bruce Buffer
yes,
or David Buffer?
Yes, absolutely. You
think she's better than the Fink?
Yeah. I think Howard Finkel's a solid number 2 in that regard. But she has, in my opinion, gone far and away. She's number 1. And this is coming from somebody who also loved Lillian Garcia as well. Like, just also great talent. Lillian was right. I'd put Lillian right at number 3. So it's number 3 Lillian, Howard Finkel number 2, and then Samantha Irvin number 1. And I think that's undisputable.
Really?
So I'm sorry. So he's wrong. Whatever. His Dave's son or Earl's son, whomever he is, he's fucking wrong. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Number 1 all time.
All time.
Greatest of all time.
Of all time. And I've seen all 3 of them live. Greatest of all time.
Well, what about Justin Roberts? Where's he fit into that?
He's fine. He's top 5. He might be number 5.
Huh. Number 1, really?
Of all time.
Greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time. And I, honestly, to me, it's not close.
Really?
It's not close. In my honest opinion, she makes every wrestling show she's a part of like 25% better.
And new WWF World Champion. Come on, man. That's fucking classic.
And the new. No, she's awesome.
The finish,
Awesome.
though, bro.
Undeniable. Indisputable.
I mean, it's a little disputable.
I don't think so.
Listen, I
think she's green.
I think she's great.
Yeah,
And I think this is a terrible fucking take by the Hebner here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, like it's a terrible take by Brian Hebner. But like, really, greatest of all time, Tom?
All time.
Interesting.
Joey Styles is number 4.
Yeah, but he wasn't really a ring announcer.
No,
He was a
I guess not.
commentator.
He was a commentator.
Oh my God! Oh, hey, so Dave's got a hot take here.
Is this the one I agree with, or one of the stupid ones?
I don't know if this is the one that you agree with or not. I kind of agree with it. And I never thought that I'd be in a position to have felt this way. But Dave says that Hangman Adam Page is a franchise player for AEW with an aura now more than he's had before following his work in the feud with Swerve Strickland. Dave says he's a franchise player. He comes off like he could be a world champion right now. He's really killing it. I really think that after that last match at All Out, I think people want to see him and Swerve still. It's not run its course. It could be the best feud in the history of the company in some ways. Mm-hmm. He's got an aura now more than he's had before. He's That's more true. Confident on his promos, which is a big deal. His work has never been questioned. He just comes off like a big star right now.
Yeah, I love that feud. I thought that, I'd say my biggest criticism, if you remember, of that show, was that feud deserved the violence, and everybody else just got to have, their violence for free.
Yes.
And I felt that it took away from the feud that really deserved it, and the feud that took it to, like, we should have been talking about it in the sense that, like, that match made us all uncomfortable, which it did, which was the point. However, they even took, like, it should have been more shocking. We should have been more pro wrestler appalled, right? We should have been more wrestling fan appalled by that match had they not dulled it the way that they did by letting everybody cut themselves open in every match before that. And I think that Dave is not wrong in his take, because he's sort of seen what everybody else has seen as far as that match within isolation, right? And that's I think the way that you have to look at it, especially with what Dave had to say, is in isolation. That match was the way, but in relation to everything else that was going on, I think that Hangman was sort of cut off at the knees a little bit in that, and that feud didn't necessarily get the shine that it deserved. You know what I mean? It didn't quite get the luster of a match that we should have come away shocked and sort of like sick to our stomachs from, but we had been dulled a little bit by what had happened going into it. So while I do begrudgingly agree with Dave. I don't necessarily. I would venture a guess to say that our reasoning behind why I agree with Dave tends to be different in that regard. It wouldn't. We don't agree for the same reasons. Hangman Page is coming off as a star right now. He's doing much better than he was even during his title run, which to this day maybe he still. Did we come to the conclusion that he was the worst AEW champion, or that it was still Kenny Omega? I don't know. He was certainly less memorable than Kenny, but maybe Kenny had worse moments overall. So I'm thinking maybe that was that's where I'm landing on that, is that Kenny had worse moments, but Hangman was more boring. But he's certainly not boring now, and I think he's much more interesting and having a much stronger run at the moment. Although his little feud with Swerve did tend to kind of hit a wall there in a weird way. Like he disappeared to like have another kid for like a month, and like Swerve had to sort of float out into existence, kind of doing weird shit and being sort of torn away from the little Hangman feud for a little while. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I can agree with what with Dave, but I don't think that we necessarily agree for the same reasons. And man, that was a really long monologue, Walt. I hope you come back. I miss you. Please come back. Please come back. Don't worry, folks at home. I'm texting him and making sure that he's coming back. But as far as Swerve is concerned now, I wonder where this leaves Swerve particularly, because, you know, the guy was on top. You know, he built himself up, that awesome feud with Samoa Joe. And then, you know, they kind of let his title reign become a little bit lackluster because he didn't get to feud with Hangman over it. So he had to have kind of crappy feuds where he sort of took the third wheel in all the feuds, which wasn't really any good. And it was sort of almost like a lesser well-booked version of what's happening to Cody right now. And I think with Swerve, it's a matter of like, he clearly is a top guy. Like he was turning chicken shit into chicken salad week in and week out, but he kept getting fed chicken shit, and you can only do that for so long. And he seems to now sort of be off doing something else, but you know, and hopefully rebuilding something and rebuilding into the character and getting back to that main event picture. But good God, like I can't think of anybody who was built up so hard and really just crawled to the top in especially on AEW, which was like looking for like things to latch onto, things to sink your hooks in, reasons to turn on the TV. And Swerve was a reason to turn on the TV. And they sort of they fumbled that at the end. And I don't think that was Swerve's fault at all. I think everything he did was tremendous. But I do think that, you know, despite him and Adam Page, that little feud at the end kind of popping off and really being great, I do think they fumbled Swerve there. You know, they fumbled his title run, and I think they fumbled him and Adam Page a little bit too. And maybe that was due to Adam Page's availability going up to it. But I think that, you know, all's well that ends well, and it certainly ended well. It was one of the most well done endings in AEW for a long time. So, you know, it sucks that it sort of like came, you know, kind of on a weird, hey, he's back. I've been talking about Swerve and Adam Page for like 20 minutes.
Ooh, buddy, I don't know what the fuck just happened.
I was just saying that, you know, despite all of that ending well, and both Hangman and Swerve kind of coming out looking great and smelling like roses, that the booking of it was fumbled a little bit, particularly with Swerve's title reign. And, you know, Hangman's sort of, you know, month off to whether would he have another kid or something like that. And it's like, it was a little all's well that ends well kind of a thing. But like at the same time, like they certainly kind of got a little dicey in the middle. And
so where I'm at with it, and the thing that I really wanted to focus on, that Dave said, was that he believes that he's got the aura of a world champion right now. Hey, bub, we thought that once, and it did not work out too well. So, do we think that he's ready for the responsibility of being the world champion again?
So I think that really comes down to whether or not he's down to show up often enough to be the world champion. And I think that's really kind of been the story of Hangman's career. He'll have stretches of time where he's on TV a lot, but it never really surpasses 2 or 3 months, and then he sort of needs to disappear for a month. And he's not the only one in AEW that does this. He's clearly been a guy who's done it sort of less than others, but at the same time, like, is he gonna be out there week in, week out, cutting promos and making the company look good, opening shows, closing shows? Is he that guy? I don't know that he is. I don't. There was a point in time, particularly to his buildup of becoming world champion, that I thought, oh, maybe he is that guy. But then he got the belt, and that was fumbled pretty hard.
Yeah.
That one of the that I talked about while you were gone. Did we decide if his reign was worse than Kenny Omega's?
I believe that it was, yes.
I think we came to that conclusion.
I mean, I give Kenny Omega's title reign far more pomp and circumstance than you do. So,
Yeah. Well,
I don't think that it was
understatement of the
nearly as
year
bad
right
of
there.
a title reign as you perceive it to have been. But that's neither
He
here
was
nor
the
there.
worst title reign at that time. In that moment, he had been the worst AEW champion that AEW had, including all of the championships. But I do think there have been worse since him. Honestly, I'm not sure that MJF's was much better than his.
Come on, man.
It might have been just slightly above.
Like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do here?
I'm just saying MJF's.
What are you trying to do here?
Mediocre. What am I trying to do? I'm hoping AEW gets better because there's less people in the arena. Although they're coming to Pittsburgh.
They are coming to Pittsburgh.
There's less people in the arena every week.
And the main event for that show has been announced, and it does have my attention.
It does have my attention as well.
And in case you don't know what we're talking about, Dynamite will celebrate its 5-year anniversary in a couple of weeks.
In Pittsburgh.
And it will be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Tom and I are potentially entertaining the thought of attending the show.
Especially because there's only going to be like 900 people there. So, the Pete, they're going to give us a chair, right?
This fucking guy. You could just you just couldn't help yourself.
No. We might get to park for free. That'd be cool.
We're not gonna get to park. If anything, parking's gonna be double.
Look, we've parked for free before.
Yeah, well, that was that guy just wanted to go back to his little booth and sit on his little butt.
He sure
for the
did.
rest
He
of
was
his shift.
He waved us in.
He didn't give a fuck. He was ready to go sit in that chair for the rest of his shift, and he did not give a fuck.
He just needed enough cars in there so that he could shut that gate and go to sleep. That's all he needed.
That man definitely he gave away thousands of dollars worth of parking.
That was probably his last night working there.
Fuck this.
Waved us off. Hit the button.
Christ, that's
What
awesome.
just happened? There's a show right there. We walked up like 5 steps and went into the arena. Oh, geez.
After we drove around for 30 minutes because we couldn't find parking.
Suckers. All the other suckers that
Wild.
parked it.
Wild. Yeah, man. But I think Ospreay versus Ricochet. What a great piece of business that's fixing to be.
That's going to be fun to be in the building for. That's for sure.
Yeah, I believe that too. But my big question. Tony Khan seems to continue to book himself into corners.
Oh, this is just a match to get our butts to get us to buy tickets. That's all this is. Look, this holds no weight. There will be no build to this. There will be no there'll be nothing after this. It's just going to happen. and we're gonna be like, Jesus Christ, these guys can actually do that without wires. Wow. And because they are literally the two best at that style of wrestling. That's it. There's two guys who should be doing that, and it's those two guys. Now that being said, this is going to be Cirque du Soleil. This isn't. I'm not going to watch this match because I think it's going to be
Cirque du All Elite.
Because I don't think this is going to be some sort of a like hard hitting contest. This is going to be purely Jesus Christ. I can't believe these guys are doing that live right now on television, and I'm sitting here watching it. Like that's going to be like that. It's purely that level of spectacle, right? It's not that I'm here to watch a great wrestling match. I'm here to watch two guys do flip kicks to a degree that no other humans in the world can do them. The best two humans in the world at something. I'm going to watch them do that thing.
What's the chances this thing turns into a botch fest right in front of our eyes?
See, that's sort of like the other
Pretty
intrigue,
fucking high,
right? That's the intrigue to it, right? Like what if somebody twists their ankle 15 minutes in or 5 minutes in or whatever, 30 seconds in? What if somebody twists an ankle, walk into the ring? What if there's a weird, what if there's some nerves and one of the pads is cockeyed in a weird way?
What if they think that they have to live up to some expectation and they try to do too much and that's outside of their actual ability to do said too much things?
Oh, I think they're definitely going to do too much. I think that's going to be our, regardless of what actually happens, I think we're going to come out of that match going, they did too much, huh? That was too much. But I have a feeling it's going to kind of it's going to more resemble a floor routine in the Olympics than it's going to resemble a wrestling match. But honestly, I like floor routine in the Olympics, and I wouldn't hate to watch that live. So,
you just saying that because it's fucking Ricochet, bro. Like,
I love Ricochet.
I know you do. You're the markiest of the mark for Pretty Ricky.
I love Pretty Ricky. And I just talked about how much I love his fiance.
Crazy.
Okay. Look, let's go and we'll see. And
yeah, and then we can come talk about it.
And
the question is, what else they gonna put on that card?
No fucking idea. It really doesn't matter. I mean, the rest of it's gonna be bad, right?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll actually put some thought into it because it is the 5-year anniversary. Maybe we'll get like a pay-per-view level Dynamite in Pittsburgh.
Cool. I mean, I hope we're going to get Britt Baker. That'll be good.
Maybe she's unhinged somewhere, beating Adam Cole up because he left her.
Yeah, beating the shit out of him.
I mean,
that's why he hasn't been back.
According to the internet proper, she's just out there fucking losing her goddamn mind. She's the craziest thing this side of the Mississippi.
I'm saying she's Nancy Kerrigan out there.
I mean, it's a possibility. Maybe she's the reason why she just every time Cole gets out of line, she just stomps on his ankle.
Yeah, just takes a lead pipe to it.
Beaten puppy syndrome,
Maybe. Who knows?
So, I don't know. I kind of want to go. We'll see. We'll see how that works out for us. As we've already kind of started the pre-planning phase of.
I think we just got to determine how many people are going. Because if we can right now, pretty decent tickets are $20. So I mean, I think the level of like who wants to go. Does Derek get to leave his house?
I don't know. We'll have to continue to have the conversation in front of him while he doesn't read it or answer it.
Yeah, I think so. All right, well, we can do that.
So, yeah. But we can do that. We can do that elsewhere. So, hey, what was the thing that you said that you agreed with Dave about?
So I said that I agreed with him that Hangman has never looked better and has never been more of a top guy in AEW at the moment. However, I think that Dave and I would have very differing opinions as to why. I think that, his feud with Swerve was great, but it was also sort of, they fumbled Swerve, which is what I was saying.
Okay.
And, and Hangman got like a big break in the middle of it, and also a lot of it was sort of carried by Swerve, whilst Hangman was lacking, but Hangman pulled through in the end, and sort of they all came out smelling like roses, but Hangman particularly because like Dave had said, his work's never really been in question. It's just a matter of like his confidence and availability, really. So we'll see. Does he look like a top guy right now? Yeah. Could he be a top guy? And based on past experiences, 50-50, I think. Has he outgrown that? Or will the reins be given him, and will be he a little too taut on the reins and sort of pull it off course a little bit? I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I just have to wait and see, I guess, huh? Guess we'll just have to wait and see. Hey, so it sounds like you and I might have spoke some ill will towards AEW into existence this week. The report is that it looks like AEW Rampage might be facing cancellation as AEW's growing partnership with Warner Brothers Discovery moves in new directions. According to rumors, Tony Khan's strong relationship with the network has led to significant developments, and one of those may include replacing Rampage with a new show potentially called AEW Shockwave. Now, I had heard about AEW Shockwave possibly being a thing, and that it was being shopped around on the Fox network.
Mm-hmm.
Not the actual Fox network,
like FS1.
Like FS1.
Yeah.
Which would be really super interesting considering AEW, Fox had come out recently, at the end of their partnership with WWE, and said it's hard to, make money from wrestling from our end, the ad sales, blah, 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 blah. For them to then turn around and enter into negotiations with the quote unquote competitor, for a unproven track record of a show.
I mean, unless they get it for a song, and there's probably some sort of revenue sharing deal and agreement, and so it's like almost a kind of a guarantee that FS1's going to get money, and it may end up costing in some circumstances AEW money. I think AEW is taking on a lot of the risk there. There's probably a percentage. It's probably a percentage based contract. That would be my expectation anyway, especially if it's going to FS1. And the margins on FS1 are a little different too, because most of that stuff is cheaper. It's not broadcast in a lot of houses, so it's not getting a lot of revenue sharing from networks and stuff, or from like cable providers and stuff. So I would bet that it's not as good of a deal, but it's a deal that works for Fox and for FS1. And the thing that they're going to get by being on FS1 is repeats during the week. So it'll play, whatever their time slot they end up agreeing at, 10 p.m. on Friday or whatever. But then it'll also be on at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and then maybe 9 a.m. on Thursday. And something like that. And it may actually the previous week may play into the live week of itself some weeks, depending on what the sports schedule is. So I think there's probably a better chance of eyes getting on it a second or third time, especially it's hard to put something on Friday night at 10 p.m. But if it's on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and say you're a kid who's sick home from school that Wednesday, you gonna watch pro wrestling? Probably. And those repeat those commercials are more sort of like, oh, we're just gonna play this during our XYZ hours, and it'll be lots of stuff.
BK says, "What's up, fellas? Hey, what's up with you, man?"
So I don't know. I think it could be a good deal for everybody, depending on how they do it, and especially if it gets replays on FS1, as FS1 likes to do with, whether it's a baseball game or whatever. They like to replay stuff from the following week during the day from the week before or earlier in the week, depending on where it falls. So I think that it's has potential to make like old school sit at home sick wrestling replay value, right?
Yeah, for sure. But that's if they get the job done with the Fox Network for the
Yeah.
FS1 deal. Still a lot up in the air as far as the AEW deal with WBD is concerned. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how all of this shakes out. You know, I mean, Rampage is definitely a forgotten show at this point, and
Even it's
it's
forgotten by Tony. Like it's not even booked like a show some like people would watch.
no. I mean, but I'm sure that it's hard though too to book your own shit whenever you're trying to book another company too on top of it, and I mean, I get it, but it still just doesn't make much sense to me. But we'll see how it all shakes out, man. You know, this is a clear sign of growth for them. If the Shockwave show is indeed in the works, and maybe it'll add some alleviation to the part-time schedule that we discussed earlier in the show.
They certainly need to bump up how everybody's working because everybody's so part time that a lot of times they look a little rusty.
Well, and they're not touring, and
Yeah, because they're not doing this,
yeah.
4 nights a week. They're doing it twice a month, and it's just not as rehearsed.
The product suffers because of that, I think, and
Absolutely.
that's
And the wrestlers suffer, and their skills suffer.
BK says AEW got me back into wrestling, but I've been leaning more towards WWE over the last year. I mean, it's kind of hard not to, Bob. You know, and that's something that we talk about an awful lot here. You know, it's not that Tom and I are sympathetic to WWE or overly hateful towards AEW. I think AEW's got a lot of promise, and there's a lot of positive things that could be over there. It's just not living up to its own expectations, and we, the fan, have suffered because of it.
It's also something that when AEW kind of burst onto the scene and was honestly at its best, WWE sucked in 2019, pre-pandemic, when like Vince McMahon was ripping up scripts at 5 p.m. WWE was like, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch because like, and I like Baron Corbin, but like,
I can only see Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin against each other fucking so many times a month.
And it was constant. And like, remember when the McMahons all stood in the ring and blamed Baron Corbin and like had the crowd boo him like it was his fault, and they were going to be like, we're going to change. It's changing now. It's going to be a new era. And then it sucked even harder.
Yeah.
It was like, so we made fun of Baron Corbin, the only consistent guy that you've really had who made any sense of anything. And now we just made fun of him. Like, this is dumb. And so WWE was terrible at the time, and it was being booked as though Vince was, high on horse tranquilizer and Cialis at the time. So it was like when AEW came out, it had fresh faces, it had good stuff going on. Cody Rhodes had a lot of good ideas, nobody was jaded yet. The Bucks were excited to be there. Kenny Omega was excited to be there. We haven't seen Kenny Omega in 2 years, by the way.
Well, I mean,
Chris Jericho,
fucking diverticulitis.
I know. I'm just saying, like, there was a lot.
God forbid the man gets sick around here. We want to bash his fucking world championship title reign, but then when he's not there, we want to just, oh my God, Kenny Omega. That's why do you do that stuff?
I don't know. Because
he's sick. I don't want him to die. Just let me walk in just to run my mouth.
I don't want him to die.
I mean, fuck, man. I don't want him to die either, bro. Spirit fingers McFucklebang.
But no, I don't know, man. Like, so you got to think like AEW kind of was like, it was something, right? And it had hope, and it had a lot of built up goodwill. And, they've spent all that political capital. They've spent the political capital. It's spent now, and it kind of started. I would say the tide started to turn when Tony Khan had the biggest announcement in AEW history And despite it actually being a pretty decent announcement, it was only Christian Cage. And I feel like that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because while, like as you mentioned earlier, Christian has had probably the best run of his life when he's there. He's another guy that gets a month off at a time.
Well, I mean, he's fucking 57, bro. Like,
Sure, yeah.
cut him a break.
Absolutely.
At least he didn't jump off the top of a cage and break his fucking leg. Like his best friend.
Like his
The
best
rated
friend
R
who-
chooch, Adam Copeland.
Rated R. I'm a rated R. How can I fuck my legacy faster than anybody else?
God, I tried to tell you and Derek this was a bad idea. I tried to tell you that this was a bad idea, that Adam Copeland was going to go and ruin his entire legacy of a character named Edge. And he has done that, okay? I tried to tell you that.
I can't believe he did it as fast as he did. It was stunning. Not only were you right, it was stunning how quickly you were proven right. You were proven right in like week 2 or 3.
Like week 1, I was proven right whenever he came out to fire extinguisher smoke instead of fucking ridiculous pyro for his thingy.
I mean, that was suspect for sure, but
the whole thing's less than.
It is. It wasn't. It was less than to start.
And then there's nobody telling him, hey, Adam, bud,
do not fucking jump off that.
Your best years are behind you, okay? Like, we appreciate that you're here, all right? And, like, you are who you are.
All nobody told him, do not. He jumped off that cage and halfway down went, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. And he stuck his legs out to, like, not have his organs shoot out his ears. But, like, I'm surprised he didn't break both legs. He's lucky he only broke one.
Edge should turn heel when he comes back and join Cage. Who? Edge is retired. He's gone. He doesn't exist anymore.
He's dead.
He's dead. Edge is dead. All right. Now we're left with this watered down version of the guy that used to play that guy, Edge, right?
His name's Adam.
Now his name's Adam. Okay. And
so he's such a normal chooch.
Like, because I don't know if you understand, right? Like, I am one of the biggest Edge fans in the history of Edge fans. Okay. Like I've got the man's t-shirts, I've got posters, I've got rated R spinners, I've got little minifigs. Like, I enjoy Edge more than any one man that's a fan of the business should. And I didn't want this at all. And he's proved me right at every turn since he went to AEW. He's diminishing an entire body's worth of work. Two Hall of Fame level careers in the WWE.
2.5, if you really want to think about it.
That's fair too, because he could go in as a tag team with Christian.
Yeah.
And still, so 2.5. And it's just not the same. It's a watered down version of what it used to be. And I knew that was going to happen. And we saw it on night 1 when he come out and had the little fucking, the 12-year-olds holding the fire extinguishers back there, blowing the fog up into the air instead of the giant pyro that we were used to. And it's been a folly of bad decisions. And I'm disappointed at the outcome, even though I knew this was going to be the outcome.
We're disappointed, but we're not surprised.
So, yeah, man, Edge. Those were the days. Now we just have Adam.
Remember how hard we popped?
And he's having fun with Uncle Jay.
I hope so. Well, I mean, he's not now. His leg's broke. But yeah. Go have fun with Uncle Jay. Whatever. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Whatever. Let's go have fun with Uncle Jay. Okay. So, hey, I do have to tell you. and we didn't do this enough anymore, right? Friday Night SmackDown was a terrible show.
It was bad. It was not good.
A lot of great moments.
Like
There was a good
three.
match.
It was like 3 great moments.
But it was not. It was not what we've been used to.
I mean, it was dog shit, bro.
It wasn't good.
How? What's been kind of stunning to me is that Raw kind of flies on Mondays. Like it, or even
Remember
if I
when that
watch,
3 hours felt like such a fucking chore.
yeah. And I mean, now it's like 3 hours is up, and I'm like, oh shit, is it 11? What happened? It is Raw is so good, and like for them to show up on Fridays and put out the fucking stinkers that they have been. I just it doesn't. It's like
Everything just felt real discombobulated to me on Friday.
It feels like they put together that bloodline segment, and they really spend their time putting the details into that. It's almost like they really spend their time drawing that to be like a beautiful cascade, right? But then like they draw the rest of the show in stick figures.
Jesus Christ, bro.
And that's what we get. We get a show full of stick figures
This where
to
we're
get
at
like
now.
a good 15 minutes.
We make stick figure analogies.
Yeah, in crayon. They draw them like this.
You fucking were you Jericho with the fucking ponytail, huh? You
LA
out here looking for some cheap heat?
Yeah.
Hi, you looking for some cheap heat? Huh?
Uh-huh.
Stick figures. It wasn't good.
No.
It wasn't good. And like I said, I don't think we talk enough about when WWE lays an egg week to week. And maybe it's because it hasn't happened in a while. But
it doesn't happen very consistently.
Friday was glaringly bad.
Friday was rough. You could tell it was like, because it was more or less the copy paste of the week before, but like Roman wasn't there. It was like
he was there, but he wasn't there.
Yeah, it was
because he's another part timer. You gonna ridicule him for not being on TV?
Oh no, he's been a part timer for a while, and no,
so it's okay for Roman, but it's not okay for AEW. It's not okay for Hangman Adam Page.
Roman is one. He is like the one part timer amongst many like full time plus guys. AEW is pretty much all part time. AEW is the McDonald's.
You're such a hater.
AEW is McDonald's, and WWE is Applebee's. We'll go with Applebee's. I was going to say Eaton Park, but maybe they're Applebee's.
This might be a hot take, BK. You might upset Tom with this. I'm gonna let it happen though. BK says Raw is the best show going on right now. Then it's Dynamite and SmackDown at a distant second.
So you're saying Dynamite and SmackDown are tied at a distant second? Look, I'm not as upset as Walt seemed to like portray this, but Dynamite is routinely one of the worst television shows, period. And that makes me angry. It makes me angry
30
when
minutes
it's
here.
It makes me angry when it's bad. Because they it's not so much that it's bad, but it's the squandering. They squander everything. Anytime that's like, oh, this is great, let's love it and poke it. Here's my pretty one, and I just gotta. And that's what it's like to watch AEW Dynamite. When SmackDown's bad, it's bad because somehow they made it boring. And I'm just like, to me, it's like you can either be bad or you can be boring. So Madam Web, the movie, was bad. It was like written by AI.
What?
Terrible movie. Morbius was bad. Bad. Those are bad. But there's things that are squandered, right? Like Star Wars.
Where is this going?
Star Wars squandered. You had all the potential in the world, and what did you do? You squandered it. The Last Jedi, in particular, squandered potential. Squandered.
I'm assuming you're gonna put a nice bow on this package, right? Like,
My point is that AEW makes me mad by like having something good start and then making it the worst shit I've ever seen. WWE does this thing where they're going strong, going strong, going strong. And then the show that I watch, it's not bad in any particular sense, but it's just like everybody just showed up with a limp penis. It's like the limp penis
Jeffrey.
of Jeffrey Penis, yes. It's very bad. So it's more of a boredom, like, oh, I'm sorry, this never happens to me kind of thing, than it is like consistency and inconsistency. It's more of a like
This never happens to, like, you just slid it in so nonchalant. Like,
I knew you love it.
oh my
I've
god,
been thinking about it for like 5 minutes.
bro. I fucking can't with you sometimes, man. Like, you always get me off balance at least
That's
once.
why I'm good at this, because I think about that shit for like 5 minutes before it
Man.
shows up.
That's wild. Kudos to you. You popped me. You popped me. Continue. I'm sorry.
I don't remember where I was going.
Fucking who fucking knows? You trying to defend your post here that SmackDown's not worse than Dynamite.
It's not worse. It's just when they phone it in, it's so disappointing. It's like, what? And it's like, no, nobody wanted to come to work today. Sorry, it's just gonna be a rough day. And I get it. Like, I'm that guy at work a lot of times, but that's really what it is. And that's what it ends up being at wrestling. But for like AEW, it's just like it's all over the map. It's like, oh my god, are they gonna? It's and there's hope involved with AEW. Or like WWE is consistently good, right? I don't have to hope. It's like, I don't have to hope that my blood's gonna flow tomorrow, right? Like my blood just runs and like I breathe and stuff. I don't have to like hope that. But like with AEW, there's like this hope that like, hey buddy, maybe you're gonna come out of that coma. You're showing signs of life. You're squeezing my hand. This is going to be another one that's going to get me canceled. You're squeezing my hand. It's maybe going to be okay. It's maybe going to be okay. And then you flatline for a minute. And it's like, we got to pull in the paddles. Clear. Clear. And that's what it's like being an AEW fan, is that like you have to like watch it die over and over again. And like sometimes it shows life, like it's going to wake up. But then it dies and they have to clear. Clear. So, I don't know. That's the best analogy I can come up with. I'm out of analogies at this point.
No, I think that's fair. I think
dying is a good analogy, though.
Yeah. Hey, listen. So, I think what's super important that we need to not dwell on here is
I like speaking to your ghost, by the way.
You like that?
Yeah.
You like that?
Not really, but it's it's interesting.
Oh, I'm like the voice of reason.
The ghost of Christmas past is what you are.
Multiple reports saying that the Lucha Bros, Penta, and Ray Fenix have signed a WWE contract, which are circulating the interwebs.
Oh, now I understand. Zero. Yeah. Remember that time where Chris Jericho dressed up like Penta and like replaced his corpse in the ring, and that was cool?
Yeah. After he just did like 5 Fozzy tours overseas or something,
Yeah.
five Fozzy shows overseas, and then flew over just for that, and then flew back to continue his overseas tour.
Look, I'm not gonna global warming shame him, but at least Chris Jericho was still cool at that point.
No doubt. No doubt.
Man, does anybody become less cool than Chris Jericho?
There was like a bunch of reports, like people walking out during his match this past week.
They should force him to retire. If anybody's needed to retire more than Chris Jericho, I can't think of it.
Yeah, wow. So interesting news about the Lucha Bros possibly signing a WWE contract. Now, a couple outlets have reported that this has already taken place, while SRS has seemingly not been able to get confirmation that it has happened. Regardless, this has been in the rumor mill for a couple of months now. If
Did you freeze? If you froze. So we're gonna say if the Lucha Bros have signed a WWE contract. What does Tom think of that? What do I think? Man, wish you wouldn't have froze, but I don't know, because like I don't like them. I'm not a fan. I don't know. I guess I've heard they're going to NXT, or they're going to the main roster if they've signed. They're going to the main roster. There's no NXT. If they were signed and going to NXT, I feel like okay, I could see that at least for a short run. A la Ethan, whatever is going to happen with Ethan Page. I think for a short run on NXT, I think that would be good. But at the same time, man, I don't know. It just seems like throwing them on the main roster is just going to put them in the same situation with like the AOP or with the New Day if they force them back together, because that the whole breakup of the New Day might fall flat. Who knows? With Ciampa and Gargano, they're gonna just kind of force them to have some matches with them in the middle of the card. They'll be good matches. They'll be great. Actually, it'll be what AEW wants to do, right? Is have the middle of the card full of good matches while we got storylines starting the show and ending the show. Kind of a whole amalgamation of like, when we look back on it, we'll look back on it and say this is what AEW did that was good for the product. Is they made sure that like the work rate matches got some time on the show. Generally, they were in the middle, but still, those work rate guys still are there. They still got to have careers and stuff. And, some of them ascended, some of them just maintained that work rate level and whatever. But I think that ultimately, I don't know that the Lucha Bros will go anywhere, particularly on the main roster. I feel like they could have a very like big time spot on NXT, and maybe they will get like pulled down to NXT a little bit, and I'm sure they will. We'll see some Lucha Bros on NXT to team against some NXT heels. We'll probably see them versus Frazier and Callisto. I think that we'll see some good stuff down on NXT, and I think they'll do a little stint down there too. Probably it'll sort of be a back and forth, and we'll see them, like I said, with Ciampa and Gargano, which I think will be a good thing. That'll be fun. But at the same time, I just don't know that it'll mean anything to anybody. Whereas Penta particularly has been the Ring of Honor World Champion before. He was kind of a top guy, particularly at the first All In. That's why I mentioned Jericho, dressing up as him, because that was the main event. It was Penta versus Kenny Omega for a championship. I think, and I don't remember which one it was, the Ring of Honor Championship or whatever. But and then Jericho dressed as Penta and got up and hit Kenny Omega, and but I don't see either of them having that level of like singles success in WWE, especially in the way that they did back in Ring of Honor, especially Penta. But even in AEW, I feel like Rey Fenix had a lot of like good one-on-one stuff where he got to kind of do that Cirque du Soleil type match that we were talking about earlier, and kind of just really show what he could do as far as the rope walking and the flips and all that other stuff. But at this point, I don't know. I feel like they're maybe past their prime. We'll see what WWE does with them. I think there is potential to do stuff with them, but I think they'll be reined back, which will probably actually be good for them. I feel like, a lot of the spots that necessarily won't work on television in the same way that they will work for a live crowd will kind of be held back a little bit. Maybe, especially like I said, I think they'll have, I think the Lucha Bros are going to kind of be crossover stars. If they debut on the main roster, I think we'll see them on NXT a little bit too. So probably work with like Ciampa and Gargano on the main roster, and then, be pulled back and maybe work with, some NXT tag team talents. So that's my opinion.
I'm sure you made great points about the Lucha Bros, et cetera, et cetera. While I was continuing to deal with more technical difficulties today, it does not seem like today has been great. But there is
I had some great monologues.
I'm sure you did.
You'll watch them later and you'll be like,
I will.
Tom had some great monologues. Jesus Christ. How did he not break contact and stop speaking?
There is a question. We will pop it up. We will answer it, and then we'll hit match of the week, and we'll get on out of here. Question is, Cody's title run has been boring to me. What's your guys' take on it?
I don't know if it's been boring. The end of Romans was boring. I don't think it hasn't been exciting. I'm interested to watch it hit its stride, maybe at the build up to WrestleMania. But if it doesn't pick up, it's boring. Yes, he's been sort of the Cody's been sort of the sort of black sheep of the family. Whereas he's been just sort of dripped into things, and I think I alluded to this earlier in the show. He's been sort of just dripped into things. And when he's dripped into these things, it's like he's the third wheel. Whether it's with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton or whether, whatever, he just kind of comes out to save whomever the bloodline's fighting with. And then, he and Solo have some beef. And that's really kind of all that it's been. I mean, he got to fight Kevin Owens a month ago or whatever, and he's got some other title defenses. But I don't think that any of them have meant much. He hasn't seemed quite like the final boss. He's, the babyface where his build is going to be better than the reign, right? Like he built and built and built for months on end. And then now he's got this reign, and it's lackluster because his climb was better than, his maintenance. And that tends to be the modern era babyface title reign, really, is that it's like, the chase is greater than the catch. And he's caught it now, and he's the guy. And, he's been a dominant champion, which I appreciate, and all that. But he's been pinned. I don't necessarily see him holding on to it longer than WrestleMania. I don't know who he's going to drop it to. Maybe The Rock. And then maybe The Rock will disappear for a little while, and maybe we'll get, Roman Rock a year from that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, man. It's a hard, it's hard not to agree with you that it has been boring, because at times it has been. But I think that it's only boring in comparison, really. And I think that in practicality, it's been pretty all right. And, I think that he has done the best that he can. And, despite he's suffering kind of from a lack of talent at the top. And that's what we talked about earlier, is that like, he just doesn't have anybody interesting to fight. Whereas Roman had all these interesting people to fight. But now that like Roman has mowed through everybody, it's not interesting to have the guy that toppled the guy that mowed through everybody, like mow through the same people. It's just not. And that tends to be the problem with long title reigns is, you can't you can't hopscotch the title back and forth, but at the same time, you can't like, you can't just have some guy that Roman beat twice, take out the top guy for the championship, and or have him feel like a formidable foe. Especially because a lot of the guys that Roman beat are gone now. You think about like Bray Wyatt. I mean, R.I.P. But Daniel Bryan, Edge, lots of other guys. I mean, Roman beat Kevin Owens twice. He beat Sami Zayn, who's, currently fighting around with the Intercontinental title. There just aren't the guys there. Roman beat Jay, but Jay's nowhere. Like, Jay's a babyface. He's not about to fight. So you got all these baby faces that you built up to be baby faces for Roman. And, there just aren't enough heels to come in and actually challenge him other than the whole bloodline. I mean, you can have him fight Baron Corbin, but how many times are you going to have Cody Rhodes beat Baron Corbin on a Friday night before you're like, oh man, Cody just, what happened? You lose power?
No, for whatever reason, man, I am just.
Today is not your day.
This computer is in shambles. So I'm sure that you answered BK's question with style and grace, but I'm going to go. No, we're just going to hit this match of the week. We're going to get up out of here. All right, Tom, what was your match of the week?
My match of the week was Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman 2. Because it was two huge meaty men having a big meaty man match. And Bronson Reed threw a guy at Braun Strowman. Like, pulled a guy out of the crowd and chucked him at Braun Strowman. And I loved it. I stood up and went, wow! Loved it. Two guys that are like 4 times the size of me, smashing each other and occasionally throwing other human beings at each other is always my kind of match. I will love it every time you put it on television. Please keep doing it, because every time it happens, I'm very excited about it. And this one was great. This one was better than them smashing a car, because like I said, Bronson Reed threw a human at Braun Strowman. And I just, how could I not love that?
No doubt. For me, it was LA Knight versus Andrade for the United States Championship.
Oh, you mean the only good match on Friday?
Yeah, even though it had a little bit of a botchy finish, I think that they worked through that pretty well and still had a hell of a match. So that got my nod this week.
And they're going back to Andrade versus Carmelo next week.
They are.
Number 4. Andrade's up. What? No, it's number 5. So Andrade's up 3-2.
So be interested to see how that plays out. And yeah. So, hey, if you're still hanging out with us, man, we appreciate you. If you could just go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, we would greatly appreciate it. Check us out over on Twitter and Instagram at @1_FallWC. That's ONE. If you're listening to us on the audio side, man, thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. And make sure you answer our poll question every week. That'll be fun. So, with all that being said, thanks for hanging out. It's all love. We'll catch you next week. One Fall WrestleCast. Hey, did you see Rollins get kicked out of the football game today?
I did. That was such a work, but it was fun.
Yeah, because Pat McAfee was right back there. Like, it was hilarious.
Yeah, and they